Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, NASCAR Cup Series, Bass Pro Shop, night race at Bristol. What is better than this night race at Bristol? Chaos happens. We've all seen the forever videos. We've all heard, I was just trying to rattle this cage. Bristol is Bristol. I know there's been different versions of it. There's been times where it was just across the bottom, one lane, you had to move them to get around them. Now we're in an era where the second lane will come in, we can run 2 wide, sometimes 3 wide, people get out of shape, people still move one another, we've seen that. 266.5 miles, 500 laps, 3 stages, 125, 125, and 250. For those people out there that don't like stage racing, my take on it is you have the intensity ramp up toward the end of the stage. So about lap 120, you're going to see a difference than you would on lap 50. Because the intensity ramps up because there's points on the line. There's that playoff point on the line. We all know how important those points are. Especially in this race with being a cutoff race. Same way with lap 250, same way with lap 500. You're going to see that intensity right before the end of the stage, just like the end of the race. Back before stage racing, we didn't have that intensity. We had people just like riding around and trying to stay out of trouble. They weren't caring about moving up because it didn't matter until the end. In the last 10 races at Bristol concrete, not the dirt, Ford has won 4, Toyota 4, Chevy 2, Ford has won 3 of the last 4. We did get the announcement that in 2024 there will be 2 Bristol concrete races, no more dirt at Bristol. They said it could come back in the future, but for now. Here's the thing, there's a lot of fans that's been clamoring for that. You got to sell the place out, I'm sorry. We're in an era of NASCAR. People don't like this era for some reason, where we're trying different things, different venues. There's a ton of venues that want races. We don't need to go to the same track twice. I'm sorry, we don't. Spring Bristol, 500 miles on the concrete during the day versus 500 miles on concrete at night. People don't typically want to go to the day race because it can be hot. And we're going to see the same thing in the fall. It's going to be more intense in the fall under the lights. And that's why they went to dirt. SMI didn't just, Marcus Smith didn't just wake up one day and go, let's throw dirt on Bristol. They've done it in the past for different kinds of racing. They tried it in NASCAR because there wasn't a love for that race. I think in 25, it's not there. I think 25 and beyond, we're going to see a point in NASCAR where each track gets one race, unless you have the ability to transition to track. So AKA Daytona, the road course, Charlotte Roval, Indy road course, that kind of thing. Because we want to go international. We want to go up north of Canada, Canadian Motorsports Park. There's talk of Mexico. There's talk of abroad, street racing. So, Bristol fans, you may get your wish next year, but you may have only one race after that, in my opinion. Alright, last year's race, the first ever race with a next-gen car on the Bristol concrete. We had a lot of attrition, we had a lot of steering issues, we had some motor issues. The famous Martin Truex Jr. to his motor of his car, which was pretty epic actually. And no one threw a fit over him flipping the finger on TV. Interesting. Alright, stage 1, Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson. Stage 2, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch. The final 10, Chris Buescher got his first win for RFK. Chase Elliott, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, AJ Allmendinger, Cole Custer, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. And remember, the first 4 races last year were won by non-playoff drivers. So we had Eric Jones win at Darlington, we had Bubba win at Kansas, we had Chris Buescher win here. The round of 16 eliminated Tyler Reddick. He won the next race. But this year so far we've had 2 playoff drivers win, Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick. So they're locked into the round of 12. We have a hornet's nest for the rest of the round of 12. Alright, so this race 1 year ago, average running position throughout the race. Christopher Bell averaged 5.08, Chris Buescher 5.7, Kyle Larson 6.0, Kevin Harvick 6.86. What makes that significant? He is currently +7 to the cut line. So if he can average a 6th place finish and get stage points and get those points at the end, he's into the next round. Brad Keselowski 8.2, he's +33 to the cut line, so he's pretty safe. Denny Hamlin 8.6, William Byron, Christopher at 9.2, Chase Briscoe at 10.5, and Ross Chastain at 10.7. So the way they ran last year, if they can repeat that for like a Kevin Harvick, he's going to move on. Truex needs somebody above him to have trouble, and he needs to have an exceptional day. Laps spent in the top 15, so people talk about you can't pass. Chris Buescher spent 449 laps in the top 15, so he was able to go all the way up. Kyle Larson 495 laps in the top 15. That is remarkable. I see on social media occasionally somebody will try to compare another driver to Kyle Larson. In the article I was reading, there was actually somebody saying, he's talking about Bubba Wallace. He's no Kyle Larson. There's one Kyle Larson. I'm sorry, there is. I'm not a Kyle Larson fan. Not at all. I don't root against him. I'm a Hendrick fan. But I can tell you how talented this guy is. Good guy. Young money. I mean, come on. He goes out and wins sprint car races just to have fun. But yeah, I mean, one of the most talented guys on the track. Not a fan, but I can respect his talent and what he's able to do. Kevin Harvick, 485 laps in the top 15. He can do that again this year. He's going to move on. Not a Kevin Harvick fan either, but I can respect the body of work he's done in this sport. Christopher Bell, 476. Chase Briscoe, 476. Chris Buescher, 449. These are laps spent in the top 15. Denny Hamlin, 442. William Byron, 424. Brad Keselowski, 417 until he had issues. And then Ross Chastain, 406. If you look back on the last 4 Bristol races, I know we're kind of combining the 2 cars, but if you look back on the last 4 Bristol races, the Young Money King Kyle Larson average finished 3.0 in 2 races for the win. Kevin Harvick, 6.0 in a win. A.J. Allmendinger, 1 race, 7.0. Aaron Jones, 9.3 average finish. Can he get another top 10 for Legacy Motor Club? And how stout is this team going to be next year with the Toyota support, with what they've learned this year? Because they've gone on no manufacturer support yet, and they're getting some top 10s. Then they got John Hunter Nemechek in the 42. As talented as he is, driving for Toyota, I mean, it's going to be, I think Legacy Motor Club, definitely both these cars are going to be up there. You can't put 25 drivers in the playoff of 16. So there's going to be some good teams that, yeah, they don't make the playoffs, but they're going to run better. And that competition level is just getting bigger and bigger, you know. And that's a lot of people hate this car because they call it a cookie cutter car. It has caused excitement and drama. We know that. It also is the closest that the top, the whole field has been ever in the history of the sport. You don't have the haves and the have-nots. It's the haves and the have-nots. I mean, it's shrinking that. Yeah, you're always going to have the people, the Hendricks and Gibbs and all those, and you're going to have everyone else. But that gap is a little sooner. You're going to have teams like a Legacy Motor Club getting top 10s. You're going to have Stuart Haas running better sometimes. You're going to have Breakaway Racing wanting to improve. Ross Chastain averaged 10.0 in 2 races. Ryan Preece 12.7. William Byron 13.0. Brad Keselowski 13.5 in a win. Chris Buescher 13.8 in a win. When you look at just the short tracks, so Bristol is a high-running short track. It is a hybrid of its own. Here's the thing, though. From my understanding, the wet weather package is not at Bristol. Bristol and Dover did not have the wet weather package because of the concrete and the high banks. So if we get rain and there's a 60% chance of rain, we're not going to run. We're waiting until that damn thing's dry before we go up. And if it gets to halfway, it is what it is. So if we get a Stenhouse, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex, somebody like that just happens to be leading when it rains, and they call it, I don't want to hear people complaining about it. Because there is no wet weather package here, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. But I thought when they announced the wet weather package, it wasn't Bristol and it wasn't Dover. The last 6 races on the short tracks. Joey Logano, 4.8. This is all in 2023. Kyle Larson, 5.3 and 2 wins. Martin Truex Jr., 7.3 and a win. Kevin Harvick, 7.3. Denny Hamlin, 9.6. Chase Elliott, 11.6. Ryan Blaney, 12.8. The last 2 seasons, so next gen on short tracks. This does include Bristol. Joey Logano, 8.0 and 2 wins. Kyle Larson, 9.7 and 2 wins. Kevin Harvick, 9.7 and a win, but he's not good at Bristol. Ryan Blaney, 10.6. Christopher Bell, 11.0 and 2 wins. Denny Hamlin, 11.0 and a win. And Chase Elliott, 11.5. Alright, now, playoffs. That is where everything is right now. We're going to start at the bottom. We know Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick are already locked in. So right now, in 16th in points is Michael McDowell. He got 26 points at this track 1 year ago. He's averaged 14.8 at Bristol since 2020. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he is 22 points up. He's had some good runs at Bristol over the time, but in the last 4 races, he has a 31.8 average finish. He's got 1 top 20. McDowell had one top 10 and 3 top 20s. Then we go to Bubba Wallace. He is 19 points out. He has an average finish at Bristol of 19.3. Then we have Mr. Truex, who was 7 point out, but he has an average finish of 21.8. Then we have Mr. Harvick, who is +7 to the cut line. And Kevin Harvick has an average Bristol finish in the last 4 races of 6.0 with a win, 2 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. Then we go to Joey Logano, who is +12. Where is Joseph Logano? Here we go. He's got an average finish at 17.5. So even if he goes 17th, for instance, and Bubba goes 19th, so they're average, he's not going to lose enough points to... Bubba's not going to gain enough points. Truex is not going to gain enough points to pass it. Christopher Bell, Mr. Bell, where is he at? Here he is, 17.5 average finish. He's +13 to the cut line. Chris Buescher, we know he's won here. He's got an average finish of 13.8, so that's not going to cost him anything really. Chastain, he's +18. He's average finish 10th. Kyle Busch, we know last year Kyle Busch had issues when he had the steering rack go out, or the motor blew. I think the motor blew up. He had so much trouble in the playoffs last year, it wasn't even funny. He had steering rack issues. He had motor blowing up. And then we have Ryan Blaney, who is +25. Where's Mr. Blaney at on the old list here? Ryan Blaney average finish at 21.8. And then we have Brad Keselowski. Mr. Keselowski, average finish of 13.5. He is +33. Now, Willie B, he's +41. He has an average finish of 13th at Bristol. Unfortunately, I think he's starting toward the back of the pack. I know there's some playoff drivers in the back. Let's finish this real quick here. Denny Hamlin, he has an average finish of 14.0. And then we know Reddick and Larson are already moved on. They don't matter what they do. They can park it on lap 1, and it honestly does not matter. Now they want the playoff points, obviously, but they may not get those. Alright, so let's take a look at qualifying from yesterday. So we have 8 of the 16 in the top 10. Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Michael McDowell, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski. Those are all the top 6 all playoff drivers. 7th is Chase Elliott. He is in the outer playoffs. And then Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace is 9th. Corey LaJoie. And then we have Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain is 23rd. Stenhouse is 25th. Logano is 28th. And Larson is 36th. Shout out to Carson Hocevar, my buddy Carson. He qualified 16th in that Legacy Motor Club 42. I saved my buddy Carson. I met him at Gateway when he made the start in the number 7 for Spire Motorsports. So I got a picture with him. So since then he's been my buddy Carson. it's going to be fun. My head, the numbers tell me the 4 that are currently out, Truex, Wallace, Stenhouse, McDowell will be out. As a fan, I'd like to see Bubba move on. And that's kind of two-sided there, because as a fan of Bubba Wallace, I want to see him move on. And because of all the haters, I want to see Bubba move on. But you know what? As a fan, I have the capability of understanding not every driver is a champion. Not every driver is a race winner. Drivers have bad streaks, have bad luck. Bubba Wallace is a winning driver in NASCAR. He may not move on. That's fine. I can cope with that. As a fan, I can be okay. You know what? He had a bad day at Kansas. It wasn't his fault. Tire cut down. Things happen. He goes out and gets a solid top 15 here. He gives a success anyway. This is his greatest year ever. All I'm looking for is top 15 out of him and call it good. If he moves on, he moves on. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I'm not so, I don't, again, I've said this before, I'm not a Kevin Harvick fan, I'm not a Truex fan. I'm just not. But I don't wish bad luck on him. I don't wish them to, yeah. If Harvick moves on his last season, great. He gets another win for the year's over with, even better. That's cool. Truex the same way. If he gets a win, if he moves on, hey, he's a regular season champion. But that just shows you that you can have a great 26 races and then the playoffs make a difference. I know there are people out there that hate the playoffs because of that. Think about this, and I've seen it on social media and I've commented on it. The old Winston Cup point standings from 2003. If we had the same point standings, Martin Truex Jr. has like a 100-point lead or something right now. This race means nothing for the championship. Where's the drama? This is just another race on the schedule. So as fans, we see there's 36 races on the schedule. Well, the points leader's got a 100-point lead. That's not going to change in a race. We know that. And I'll skip this race. Maybe I'll watch in a couple weeks and see what the point standings are. That's not what the TV contract wants. That's not what NASCAR wants. How many drivers, and I know the answer to this already, quite a few. How many drivers got out of their car back in the day? Yeah, we had a good points day today. We didn't have more than a 10th place car, so we went ahead and just went out for points because, the points are the most important thing there is, and we got to have them points. It doesn't matter if we win or not. We just got to get a good points day out of it. Now it matters if you win. Now that driver that's sitting there in third or fourth going, it's a good points day. No, I need that win. Win means more now than ever before. Bad luck is worse than ever before. The race 26 of the season meant nothing before playoffs. This race meant nothing before the playoffs. That means a lot. 4 drivers can get their way to the next round that are currently not. And if it rains and cuts it short, that can make a whole big difference in it. So, my NASCAR Fantasy Live lineup, I'm doing Chris Buescher because of the win last year, Brad Keselowski because he's ran well here, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, William Byron. I got Kevin Harvick in the garage. My 4 picks, Chris Buescher. Can he go back-to-back? I think he can. But will he? We don't know. His car owner, Brad Keselowski, he had a race-winning car last year until he had problems. Kyle Larson, young money, we know how good he is and everywhere he goes. The fact he's starting last, I think Cliff Daniels and some strategy can get him up front, and then Christopher Bell are my 4 picks. Alright, that is the Brass Pro Shops night race at Bristol preview. I know it is in about 8 hours, so it's going to be fun, it's going to be wild, and we will have 12 drivers to talk about moving on. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day, have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.